All right, everybody. Hey, y'all. Hey, it's JJ Conway. I am so stoked to be here with you today. Today, we're going to talk about a new topic for me. So, I'm going to ask you to give me a little bit of grace. I've been talking about it, but today's the first day I'm actually going to provide you some training. And the great thing about it is, this is a new training offered by John Maxwell Leadership. And I'm super excited to bring it to you because it's something I have dealt with in my military career for ages. And so one of my last jobs, not my absolute last job, but my second to last assignment, one of my jobs was translating information from the old heads, the graybeards, the people who, they may not have designed the nuclear weapons, but they were like one generation removed from it. They worked with the guys who designed them, to the young bucks just graduating out of college and didn't understand how we needed to test things and like to do everything virtual. So huge communication gap. And so today we're going to talk about what Tim Elmore calls a new kind of diversity. And I'm going to present to you this new training from John Maxwell team. All right. Now I am going to offer a little bit of an apology to some of my never mind. We'll get to that when we get to it. All right. So if y'all might tell, I might be a little flustered today because I'm excited about this content, and I'm excited about our Thursday night classes. I love our Thursday night classes. For those of you who are new to me and my body of work, one of the reasons I always do these classes at no charge is because I remember what it was like to have the gut punched out of me, all the wind knocked out of me when I came home from a military trip, to a nasty divorce that resulted in over $800,000 of debt that I had to learn how to manage. I had to learn how to hustle in a hurry. And I've always been okay with money. But when you have that kind of staggering number to attack in a short window of time in order to retire by, you have to have a new, creative, solution-based way of thinking. The old ways weren't going to work for me, because the old ways keep most Americans broke and in bondage, and I didn't want either one for my life. Okay. Hey, y'all, I'm so excited that you're on today. Ooh, I'm so excited that you all are on today. This is going to be a good training today. And I'm a little bit in my feels because, like I was saying, I love these classes. I love doing it. But today was the first day of senior pictures. So we took senior pictures for my oldest, my miracle baby, the one I cried out in a prayer for 8 years. Lord, give me a baby, heal my body so I can stop losing him and actually hold one in my arms. And sure enough, he is going to be a senior next year. And we did his senior band pictures today. And so we've got more senior pictures coming. We got football and we got graduation. And I'm just like, okay, this is going to be a tearful year, y'all. It's going to be joyful tears, tears of joy and praise for the blessing that is my oldest Philly Bob PK, no longer using that channel much, but as Philip Wiggins. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and pull up the slides, and we're going to get into the training for today. And for those of you, again, who are new to me, every Thursday night I do a class. Every first Thursday is Q&A. So that's where you can get your money and business questions answered with what I like to think is style and grace. All right. If I say it enough, it'll be true one day, right? Every second Thursday is our 7-figure business building. How do you create multiple streams of income? And how do you create multiple streams of income no matter what your health is, your resources, your family situation? We can always find a way to win with money. That's what our second Thursday is all about. Every third Thursday is where the all began with the Building Wealth Together Real Estate Investment Group out of Keller Williams, Kingstown, years ago. We talk about real estate investing, and different topics related to real estate investing. And every fourth Thursday is our Empowered Entrepreneur. How do you become the person who has and can manage and attract into their life the things that you say you want out of life? And so today we're going to be talking about Tim Elmore's A New Kind of Diversity. But before we get into it, I just want to let you know what's coming down the pike. This is our schedule for the fourth Thursday. If you want to see all of the schedule, you can go to the link at the bottom there. It says facebook.com/groups/build wealth with JJ. You go to that group, you will find the schedule for all the Thursdays. Okay. The fifth Thursday is a wild card. Sometimes I teach, sometimes I spend time with Mr. Man and just put a rebroadcast. So y'all know we got a family first, right? And so fifth Thursdays are a wild card, but you can go out there. The entire schedule for the year is out there, and you can come and learn from somebody who has not only done the thing, but somebody who's had hard times, who has suffered debilitating accident, debilitating emotional events and trauma, and still come through it on top. Okay. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this. All right. Hold on. Let me pull up that other slide. Now, this is a training. Again, this is from John Maxwell, A New Kind of Diversity. Now, I am going to apologize today to my melanated men and women because I did not pay attention when they came out with this from John Maxwell. I did not pay attention to their choice of, I did not pay attention to their choice of graphics. Okay. And so, I'm offend everybody today. I'm going to offend the melanated crowd with my graphics because they're not my graphics. They're John Maxwell's graphics. I'm going to offend everybody else when I mention the fact that, when we talk about diversity in the workforce, a lot of trainings like this seems to me a way to talk about diversity without actually talking about diversity. Okay. And so for those of you who are on Fly Nubian Queen, which we were broadcasting to today, we will probably discuss this Monday in our Money Mondays with Roz and JJ. We're going to talk about how, a lot of times companies will do things to kind of like breathe a sigh of relief. Oh, good. Now we can talk about this. We don't have to talk about that. Okay. So I acknowledge it up front, and I'm going to definitely send in my feedback, but honestly, the content is so good. We just going to overlook that. Okay. We're going to overlook that today. We're among friends today. All right. So what is this about a new type of diversity, a new kind of diversity? Okay. Well, today our world is full of messages giving attention to diversity, right? And so, a lot of times when we think of diversity, it depends on your background, really, but we think about ethnicity, gender, income diversity. And there's another kind of diversity that a lot of us do not want to talk about, and that is about the different generations that serve on a team today. So I want to just kind of poll the room. Feel free to drop your comments in the chat. How many, most of you are watching me on social media, so I imagine most of you are active on social media, but think about the last 2 years of messages. Have you seen things? Have you seen things like how to confuse a millennial? Okay, boomer. Okay. Okay, Karen. All right. I don't even know how to say this one. So if somebody knows how to say it, drop in the chat for me. This is Gen Z making fun of millennials. Okay, Karen is Gen Z making fun of Generation X, and I kind of resemble that remark. So I don't really resemble that remark, but I kind of resemble that remark. I'm like, wait a second now. This one really got my goat. Okay, who knows what a boomer remover is? All right, that's a young generation's referring to COVID-19 deaths. A little bit outside of my comfort zone. Okay, but these hashtags illustrate that people are aware of our generational differences. The thing is, we are not necessarily translating this to our workforce. And so maybe we're not even hearing these differences overtly, but in today's workplace, most companies have 3 or 4 generations all working together. And so if this is accurate, and it has been verified through research, how can your managers, how can your teams cross this chasm, effectively leading to unified, respectful environments in your workplace? In fact, some of you will be listening today as an owner, and you might be listening as a parent, and you might have said in recent days, I just don't understand my kids today. Okay. And so this study is based on a book, A New Kind of Diversity by Tim Elmore. And he talks about a student who loved his part-time job in college. Okay. His name is Tony. He worked at a major retail brand paint store, and he began mixing paint colors and posting video on TikTok. Okay. So in time, his posts went viral. He got look, y'all, this man got 1.4 million followers and 34 million views off of mixing paint on TikTok. Okay. And he thought that, maybe his management might want to use the account for marketing. Maybe they want to monetize his platform. So he created a slide deck, and he asked to present his ideas to the executive. Unfortunately, Tony did not get one person interested in his idea. He did not even get a set of eyes to look at his slide deck, y'all. And he did get something, Oh, he got something all right. He got something he didn't expect. He got fired. I mean, why did he get fired? Well, management assumed that Tony was doing his posting on company time. Management assumed that he was stealing the paint, and management assumed he was likely distracting the customers. I mean, I don't know about you, but if you've got 1.4 subscribers and 34 million views off of you using my stuff, I think I'm gonna want to monetize that. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm gonna want to highlight that, like, hey, you know. But that is not how his superiors saw it. So what did he do? Moved from Ohio, started his own paint store. And now he's got over 2 million people following him. And the bottom line is, because there was suspicion between the generations, a huge opportunity was missed. Now, in a different company, there are different stories. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Laura. Let me put her up here. Okay, she's not coming. Okay, there she is. Okay, so here comes Laura. Here comes Laura. She is offering a job to a young professional who responds by saying, "Oh, thank you, but my parents have to interview you to make sure you're a suitable boss for me." Another HR executive reported young job candidates bringing their phones to the interview and boldly interacting with others during the interview. Still, another recently graduated college student asked how much free time was he going to have on the job and when was spring break each year. And each of these managers said they love young professionals. They enjoy the energy that is brought to the team. They love the passion and the new ideas that young professionals possess. But unfortunately, these candidates were unready for professional life after graduation. See, school prepared them for the classroom, but not the workroom. Okay. And while I'm sure there's more to each story than we know, each of them illustrates that the young and the mature can disrespect each other, often without realizing it. Okay. And so we got to understand that there's a lot of problems in the workforce today when we don't understand it. In fact, there's a growing number of age discrimination lawsuits. Fortune 500 companies reporting age discrimination lawsuits, including IBM, Google, Marriott, Citibank. I mean, these are big things, okay? These are big companies. In one nationwide survey, more than half of respondents reported they are unlikely to get along with a work colleague from a different generation. So think about that for a second. Wait, that was very uneducated of me. Some of us already have a problem in the workplace because we got different cultures going on, and we have one culture and there's another culture that's predominantly in the workplace. So we already have that working against some of us, right? And regardless of your race or your ethnicity or your religion or any of those things, if you're in the minority, well, you're in the minority. If there are cultural norms in that work center that are different from yours, you are already behind the power curve, and then you add this generation on top of it. That's why it's so important for us to learn these things and understand these things. So I know what I'm sharing with you today is a little heavy. Usually we have the class and I'm like, yeah, you could do it. You could be a multimillionaire. Woo, woo. Okay. So this is more education, but you put this education to work at work tomorrow, and I promise you it's going to accelerate your ability to drop that 9 to 5 and create wealth that allows you to live life on your own terms. So this isn't just getting along at work. This is the skills that you need to acquire more faster. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the slides. And so, excuse me. What the problem that we have now with this generational gap is that we've had a problem where the generational teams have been divided. Okay. And so it's really easy to stereotype, and it's really easy to, instead of completing each other, find ourselves competing with each other. And so instead of collaboration, there is conflict. And if you own a company and you have grown this company to the point of hiring employees, this frustration is not helping you compete in the marketplace. So think about what would happen if you and your team members were able to build a bridge of appreciation and respect between each other. I want you to think about this. How could this be a competitive advantage for you over other businesses who are keeping their head in the sands about this reality? All right. So the goals of today's conversation, that we're going to be having today is really to really understand each generation, the different generations on your team, to kind of give you a big picture summary of the differing perspectives on these paradigms and these attitudes, and then to bridge the gap toward better productivity and a healthier culture. And you might be saying today, well, JJ, I don't have employees. Okay. I don't have any employees. So maybe this isn't for me. This is absolutely for you if you interact with different generations at church, if you interact with different generations while you're in your nonprofit space, your volunteering space, if you interact with different generations in your own family. I mean, how many of us do not understand our parents, and how many of us parents do not understand our kids? So this is for you today. And I hope you're going to enjoy this. Okay. And we a lot of times what happens is, instead of benefiting from and cherishing and nurturing other generations, we kind of just tolerate them. And it's a growing crisis, because the world is changing so rapidly that a lot of times the younger generations are barely tolerating the more mature generations and may not feel like there's anything left to offer, and the more mature generations may be so exasperated with the younger generations that they refuse to mentor. But like I tell my son all the time, old people know stuff. You need to ask us for advice. Ask us for advice and let us help you, because we know stuff. We've been there. We can help you. But one of the things that I had to learn, and trainings like this helped me to learn it, is I had to learn how to speak his language, and I had to learn how to adapt myself to his reality so he could invite me in to his success. All right. And now I get it. I get it. Some of you who are my age or older, you're like, well, wait a second. We didn't have to do that with my kids. We didn't have to do that with our parents. I'm going to explain why. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. I promise I'm going to get to it. All right. I'm going to explain why. You're going to love the chart that we're going to build today. And I know, we like to be entertained, but this is going to be really good, because we, it's really easy to stereotype. Okay. And let me bring up some complaints. I'm sure you've heard at least one of these complaints, right? It's so easy to stereotype. Have you ever complained that, all the builders, all the traditionalists are just dinosaurs, or that all the baby boomers are just stubborn? Oh, how about this one? All the Gen Xers are skeptical. That might be a little bit true, though, considering the generation. And I am one, and so that's why I say that. Or how about this one? That all those millennials are narcissistic, or all those Gen Ys are just fragile snowflakes. We say things like that, and we don't even think about what we're really saying, and we don't really think about the fact that we have these biases based on our generations. We kind of just think that our life is our life, and that's our life. And I told you all the story that I had about the different generations of scientists. And I had a scientist who was just uncooperative. He just wasn't. He was like almost 90, right? So he should have retired like 10, 20 years prior, but he was brilliant. And people would try to work with him, and he was just curmudgeonly, and he would full, he would just he would do what he had to do to not get fired. But he just didn't care to help these people. And so he was given to me as one of my direct reports to actually work with and try to get some of the knowledge out of his head and translate that for future generations. And after about 3 months, 3 weeks, my supervisor came in, and she was like, I've never seen so and so be this collaborative and be this interesting. And she said, I couldn't figure out what you did. Now I'm gonna say, I didn't appreciate the fact that she didn't have any tolerance for my leadership capability. Like, when she saw me on paper, she thought I was the stuff. When she saw me in person, it was a whole nother story. So, so she was like, I didn't know what you did with them. And then one day I walked past, and he was just talking and talking and talking about who knows what. And you were just sitting there listening to him. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm sitting there listening to him. His generation values respect, and they value people who value what he has to say. Don't nobody want to work for somebody who doesn't value what they have to say. Now, they might have to work that job. They might not have created choices and pathways for themselves to adequately provide for their family elsewhere, or they might have made that choice to stay in a toxic situation because it pays the best money or has the most flexibility for your kid's schedule or something. But everybody wants to be valued. Everybody wants to be heard, but they want to be heard in the way that speaks greatest to their generation. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, to help you understand, help you understand the difference in generations and why it's so difficult for generations to appreciate, respect each other. I want you to know there's actually neuroscience studies that really feed into this. And so according to neuroscience, people develop a little bit like wet cement. Have you ever seen wet cement, right? You ever seen wet cement? While it's fresh, you can press your finger or your hand print it, and pretty easily you wait a few days, weeks, months, however it is, you can still change that concrete, but it takes a jackhammer. And so I'm just saying, the first 20 to 25 years of your life, your neural pathways are very pliable and they are changing, adapting, informing. But over time, you get to my age, and it's almost like you need a jackhammer to change anything in your mind. So I'm just saying, as we're formed in the first couple decades of life, we can find our clues, our routines, the way we think, the way we do change. And some things in our life will change over time, but they're usually not fundamental unless we use a jackhammer, you know? So every team, every generation in your work team, every generation in your work team represents a different paradigm in as a vendor, a colleague, a client, supervisor, family member. Everybody brings different expectations. So let me illustrate this by stating a statement, okay? How about cell phones at work? Gen Y and Gen Z cannot imagine putting their phones in a locker while they're working. That phone is their lifeline, their go-to. And boomers just can't imagine this actually working. Right? They can't imagine it working. And so, today I'm going to teach you now for me, I worked in the military, and we would put our phones away in a heartbeat, but it was definitely at odds with the rest of society. So briefly, when I'm going to talk to you about the rest of the time together, I'm going to talk about what we've learned about the generations we live and work with today. And so we're going to talk about the 5 generations and their coming of age. And I understand this is a lot, okay? So if you want the opportunity to learn more about this, you can follow the link at the bottom of my name. Oh, it's not on there. Okay, I'm going to make a banner. Let me pause for just a second and make a banner so that you have that link, okay? Let's do this link here. It's going to be calendly.com/JJ Conway/JMT for John Maxwell Team. Okay, so let's save that and let me pop it up there. And hopefully it won't block anything that's really important. Okay, but this chart that we're going to walk through today. It's going to kind of help you understand why people are the way they are. All right, and that's the cool thing about it. Okay, and so here are the 5 generations coming of age, and the oldest generation today would be far past retirement age. They're the ones born between 1929 and 1945. Interestingly, they're still healthy. They're still mowing the lawn, doing maintenance, or maybe they own the company, right? Okay. But then along came the baby boomers. The first generation would be called the builders, the silent generation. Some people call them traditionalists, all right? Then you've got the baby boomers, and after the baby boomers came the baby busters or Gen X. All right, and I bet there's a lot of Gen Xers that are on today. Born between 1965 and 1982, and then the kids born in the 80s, 90s are now professional millennials. And then you have, or they're also called Gen Y, 1983 to 2000. And then finally, we have Gen Z. Historians are calling them the Homelanders because their generation started about the same time as the Department of Homeland Security. And basically, they only remember the 21st century. This is the generation that has never lived in a world without internet. So, all right. So here's what I thought would be fun today. I'm going to walk you through a few categories that just show you, like, oh my goodness, no wonder they think differently. Look what shaped them and look at how they developed their mindset. Okay. So let's look first at life paradigms, or what's the narrative that each generation brought with them as they move from backpack to briefcase. Okay. So the builder generation life paradigm: just be grateful you got a job. Now, somebody tell me why they would say that, huh? The Great Depression, okay? The Great Depression. And that's what formed them, okay? So think about that. Think about people who, think about how, either, depending on your age, your dad or your granddad, who carried a waste not, want not attitude all their life. They saved every rubber band or plastic bag known to man, and it's in the attic because you never know when you're gonna need it. All right, so for them, oops, I forgot to advance my slides. I'm so sorry, y'all. Hold on, let me get those back in here. There we go. All right. So for them, y'all are like, boy, she's letting us look at this slide for a long time. I bet I lost half my viewers off of that. All right. So for them, saving the wrapping paper at Christmas, we're going to use it next year. Don't rip it. That's an attitude of life shaped by what they went through as young people. Okay. After the builders came the baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. Boomers are called boomers because at 9 months after World War II was over, the soldiers came back home. And guess what? 9 months later, all them maternity wards filled up. Okay, 76.4 people were born in 18 in just a year and a half, y'all. Oh my goodness, 70. I'm sorry, in 18 years. So that has never happened before, and it has never happened since. And so because of it, it was such a large generation that everybody paid attention to this group. Okay. They want that boomer dollar. Okay. And so, the life paradigm that Tim gives them in the book is, I deserve better, because boomers felt entitled to a better life than mom and dad had. It wasn't a depression, it was a type of expansion. Shopping malls were popping up, McDonald's franchising was large and in charge. All right. So after the baby boomers come the baby busters or Gen X. And you know why they were called busters? Because the first year of your existence was the public introduction of the birth control pill. So instead of a boom, it was a bust, which means the busters group has always been in the shadow of the boomers. And, if I may, since I am a member of this group, a lot of Gen Xers were like the first latchkey kids. They were handed their TV dinner, their key to come home from school by themselves, and told to figure out life for themselves. All right. And they figured out life real quick. They figured out real quick that the loyalty of their grandparents and their parents got them nothing but fired and miserable. Okay. And so their paradigm is keep it real. Don't tell me life is wonderful. In fact, look at the years your generation grew up by. Not only did you have Vietnam War, all these things, Watergate scandal. Come on now. Stop trying to lie to me. Keep it real. All right. So for millennials, let's move on to millennials now. For millennials coming to age, millennials are the largest generation in the workforce today. So now, if you are a boomer or Gen Xer saying, I'm just waiting for them to get out of here, they're taking over, y'all. They are taking over. And if you're a millennial today, go ahead and drop it in the chat. It's my time. They are the largest category in the workforce. And for millennials, life is like a cafeteria. It's like you go down a cafeteria and you grab your tray, you grab your plate, you go down the line and you kind of make up your own meal. I'm going to have a little bit of Jello, a little bit of roast beef, a little bit of mashed potatoes, and a little bit of pudding, and I'm gonna tailor that thing for my life buds. And these young professionals are making almost every major decision in their life as if it was a buffet. And it has little to do with higher or lower socioeconomic status. Okay. A lot of kids, I'm laughing because we got a new car and my son, my Gen Z son actually put CDs in there. I didn't even know he knew what CDs were, y'all. I didn't even know he knew what CDs were, y'all. Okay, hold on. Let me see what we have here. We've got some comments here. I wanted to say hi to everybody who's on. I wasn't paying a good attention to the comments. Okay. We want to keep our comments G-rated, please. Go to school, get an education. Well, you'll be great, huh? Well, that's a whole nother conversation, especially for some of us. All right. But kids, millennials are the first generation that's like, why am I gonna buy a CD? There's like 8 songs on there that I don't even like. So they get one song at a time from their own playlist, Spotify, iTunes, whatever, right? And so oh goodness, oh goodness, oh goodness. So for them, life is really like a cafeteria, okay? Now, Tim interviewed middle school, high school, college students, and young professionals, and he kind of summarizes the coming of age for your Gen Zers as I'm coping and hoping. And I was really surprised to see that. But then I thought about my kids and how anxious my oldest son's generation is, how fearful they are of everything, right? Like they're young and they're hopeful, but you know what? Life is stressful and they're just barely making it. I'm just barely coping it. I'm just barely getting through the day. Mental health issues are extraordinary right now for this age group in a way that wasn't as big of an issue when I was a child, when I was in middle school. Okay. So if you have a middle school or a high school kid, I'm telling you, we've never seen mental health, anxiety, depression as high as it is now. Loneliness is higher than anxiety right now. It's ironic, y'all. We are connected through social media. We are connected through our devices, but not really. Okay. So now we're going to look at their attitude to authority. And I know for some of you, you're like, JJ, you have never given us such an eye chart before, but I hope you're getting something good out of this. Okay. I know it feels like you in the classroom today, but I hope you are getting some good stuff out of it that makes it worth putting up with the eye chart. Okay. So if you're getting some good insights, go ahead and drop them in the chat so I know that you're getting what you came for today. All right. All right. So looking at how they view authority with the builder generation or the traditionalists, it's all about respect. You got to respect them. You respect the president. You respect the prime minister. If you didn't vote for the one who won, you still respect the office. You respect the people who are in authority over you. So your cops and your teachers, you give them respect, not because, excuse me, not because of who they are, but because of their position. Okay. And so that's their attitude towards authority. Okay. And understanding that this was shaped by the life that they lived growing up that will help you communicate better. And if you are in that category today and you're, understanding that others were not shaped in the environment you're in will help you communicate better with your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. All right. Now, for the boomers, this is interesting. How many boomers do I have on the line today? Okay, so for your boomers today, a lot of the big tag phrase of that era was never trust anyone over 30, right? So their attitude towards authority is replace them. They gotta all be scammers. They gotta all be wrong. They gotta all be there. Take down the man. Like that's just that's like the running thing. And the funny thing about it is they are now the they. The boomers are now the they that the boomers couldn't stand when they were younger. So I don't know how that's gonna end up, but that's how they are. For the busters, it's more like endure them. Oh my goodness, these people are in authority. I just got to get through this. Let's just keep it real. Got to put up with these boneheads, so let's go get a Starbucks, like it's just interesting the way that the different generations view authority. For millennials, it's interesting. Millennials do not just except now I'm using broad sweeping generalizations. There's always some exceptions to every rule, right? But for millennials, generally speaking, it is not just I respect you because of the position you're in. It's choose who I'm going to respect. And so when Tim was on the University of Georgia campus talking to undergraduates, he found it was very common to hear students say something like this: well, I know he's my professor, but he's not my mentor. And what they meant by that is I got to take his class, but I'm choosing who I let pour into me. I am not letting everybody pour into me. And so, that's different. That's a different attitude towards authority than everybody else has had thus far. Okay. And so then when we go down to Gen Z, we go down to Gen Z and we note that Gen Z, this generation of kids didn't just grow up with a cell phone like we grew, they have a smartphone. Then if it's a game changer, and if they're honest today, if they were honest, if you could get them in a room talking without them feeling like they're going to get in trouble and you're going to take away their devices, if they be honest with you, there's what they might say is, not sure I need you right now. Really not sure I need you right now. Because they look around at their life and they look around at their smart technology and they can listen and they can ask questions that they used to ask mom, that kids used to ask mom. There was a conversation with a father recently that was like, look, I'm not having the same conversation with my teenage kids that I had with my dad when I was a teenager. And it's like you can thank Google and Siri, Google Siri, you can do and Alexa, yeah, that's the one for Amazon. You can thank all those things because they don't need the adults for information, but they still need adults for interpretation. Okay, so let me say that again. And let me look y'all in the eyeballs. A lot of times these younger kids, they feel like they do not need adults for information. And sometimes as an older person, you might feel like, well, they don't need me anymore. They absolutely need you. They need you for interpretation. They need you to help understand, how do I take this information and actually apply it to real life? Because let me tell you what, the TV and the Netflix and all that, and the YouTube and the TikTok and all those things is not giving them what they really need out of life. Okay. All right. So we want to understand that. Now I've got one more category, and I think this will be very helpful for you if you're a business person and if you are a vendor of goods and services. Okay. So let's talk about the market that each generation introduced into the economy as they became the consumer. Remember, our neuroscience, our brain gels while we are younger, and over time it firms up like cement. So these are the things that were large and in charge and on everybody's mind and coming of age and doing the thing when these people were coming of age. Okay, for each of these generations. Okay, so way back in the day, the boomers the builders generation, the traditionalists, introduced to the economy goods. So back before this, people would grow their meal in the garden. They'd raise their own cattle and stuff. If it was your birthday, your mom baked you a cake from scratch. Your mom had, it was the way, that's just the way that's just the way it was. And so this particular generation was the first generation to really have goods in the service place. They could go to the store and get a Betty Crocker cake mix, add a couple of eggs and some milk and water, and boom, you got a cake. Okay. Well, boomers came along and added service to the market. So for the first time, we began paying for services and for goods way more than their parents would. And sometimes you might find, somebody like, well, I can't believe you're going to pay somebody to change the oil in your car or wash your car. And it's just like, oh, that's what I do. So on your birthday, if you have a boomer mom on your birthday, the boomer mom might be more apt to go to a professional, go to a bakery or Baskin Robbins and have your name scribbled in icing on the cake. The cake is served to you by someone else. Mom bought the service, extras come through, and there you go. Now, let me advance that slide. Sorry about that. So they introduced services and they wanted services. Remember, their tagline for life narrative is, I deserve better. I deserve this. We are prosperous time. I should have the best. And the best is I shouldn't have to work and do this stuff. I'm just going to pay somebody to do it. Sounds a lot like what we say to our broke entrepreneurs today? All right. Okay. So basically now as the busters came along, there's an interesting thing that is introduced to the economy, and that is the experience economy. And I think this is hilarious, y'all. I find this to be so hilarious because it really plays out in my family. I think about the things that my grandparents liked, and I think about the thing that my mom liked, and I'm the kind of person that likes experiences. Like, don't buy me tchotchkes. Clearly I don't have room to put them, right? Don't buy me stuff. Like, maybe you buy me some flowers, I'll enjoy them, they'll die, I'll throw them out, I'll enjoy their scent and their beauty for a little bit. Buy me food, I eat it and it's gone. But those are experiential things. Take me on a trip, take me out to dinner. Those are experiences. I was like, ooh, there's actually some validity to this research. Okay, so the busters, Gen X, it's all about the experience. So basically you're saying, as a new consumer, goods are not enough. Services are not enough. I want an experience when I buy something. And guess what? The economy found out we will pay more for experiences. Why don't we go to Starbucks for an experience? Why on else would you pay that much money for a paper cup of coffee? It's kind of like Disney. Disney was way ahead of his time, having all 5 sensory experiences in their parks and in everything that they do. That's why they're a multi-billion-dollar organization. They're selling experiences. So going back to the birthday extras, think with me, if you were growing up, your parents could take you to an experience, Chuck E. Cheese, right? Cakes weren't enough anymore. You needed a mouse and tokens for games and pizza. Now it's $120 to have a birthday. No, actually, it's like $300 to have a birthday. It used to be $2. It used to be $2 to have a birthday. You mix up a cake from scratch, and you get a couple of friends come over, blow out some candles, say happy birthday, run around the backyard and get all muddy. But now it's so much more than goods and services for the Gen X generation, but it's even beyond that for the millennials, y'all. It's not just experiences anymore. It's transformations. So as a birthday gift, if I'm a parent of a millennial, I could purchase a transformational experience. In other words, I want to buy something for my child or present something that is transforming. Okay. It's not just I show up and the mouse entertains me. It's not just that I show up and this and that and the other. It's an immersive, transformative experience that leaves me either motivated or changing the world or elevated or calmed down, And so now that Gen Z is beginning to be the consumers, Tim writes that the best way to describe their brand new thinking that they bring to the economy is that they consume and they create. Okay, so they consume and they create. So they're not just enjoying an experience; they are the experience. And it's not even just creating content is buying content, it's all of the above. And so think about this sharing economy. The largest hospitality company in the world owns no properties, Airbnb. The largest taxi service in the world owns no cars, Uber. And traditional taxi drivers saying, well, what are you doing here? Well, we're doing a new thing. This is how Gen Z thinks. And so before we leave this, can you see how generations have changed? And if you and I just stay locked in our generation's mindset and we don't begin to respect and appreciate the other generations, we're going to miss an opportunity to build a great team. And so let me ask you a question before we move on. All right. Do you feel the disconnect? Oh, okay. So let me ask you this. Okay. So now if you only had 2 minutes and you wanted to know, what do I need to do to connect with someone from another generation? Here is what I would say. All right. Let me click that. There we go. What do I say? 1, we want to have humility. We want to be open to outside perspectives. 2, we want to respect and honor others that are unlike us. Being unlike us doesn't mean that people are wrong or bad. And curiosity, we want to be hungry to learn and grow and understand that our way of doing things is a way. It's not necessarily the way. Okay. And so I hope that you have enjoyed this session today. There's actually a lot more that I would like to share with you on this session and on this topic, but we are running quickly out of time. And so I'm going to make an offer for you today. And it's a complimentary offer. Okay. So normally this training, to bring this training into your organization, would have a pretty fair price, because this is content that would allow your organization to be head and shoulders above everybody else who isn't paying attention to these things. But what I'm going to do for you today, because there's just so much more I would like to share with you on this, is I am offering you an opportunity to have a complimentary session, a session just like what we talked about today, where I teach this as a lunch and learn or some other short training at no cost to you for your organization. If that's something that would interest you, go ahead and fill out the Calendly form. Get on my calendar for a quick chat just to talk about what your organization needs and how John Maxwell Team products, leadership, diversity, communication can help you take your business to the next level. And whether you have a business of 20 employees or whether you are a solopreneur, this content can help you make more money with less work. And that's what I'm here to do, is help you, equip you to be all that you've been called to be. All right, I'm going to check the comments, and if you're listening on free conference call, I'm going to also check the Q&A to see if you are in the queue and if you have any hands raised. Now is the time to go ahead and ask your questions. I don't see any hands raised on the free conference call. Okay. And I don't see any additional questions in the chat. So with that, we're going to conclude our training for today. I want to thank y'all for being here. And I don't know if we're going to put this one on the Building Wealth Together podcast, but just so you know, our Thursday night classes, we extract the content from those Thursday classes and we put them on the Building Wealth Together podcast. So if you want to be on the podcast, go ahead and get on the free conference call where we can hear your voice, or drop your comments and your questions in the chat so we can answer them. But since I see no questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for today. I want to thank y'all for sticking with me. I know usually I try to be a little more entertaining. So it really means a lot to me that so many of you have stayed on the line tonight for this training. I hope it's done you well, and that you'll come back, that you'll put it into practice this week, and that you will come back and let me know how well it worked for you. I'm JJ Conway. That's all I've got for you today. Y'all take care and be blessed.